Let's get right into it. Number 1. The forest whispers back. Imagine walking through the woods and suddenly getting the unshakable feeling that something is watching you. You freeze, you listen, and then nothing. Just wind and birds and maybe a weird squirrel that's been staring at you a little too long. But your ancestors, they didn't write this off as paranoia. They called it the spirits of the forest. Or if you were Norse, maybe a huldufolk throwing shade from a mossy rock. Now here's the creepy part. Modern researchers have found that heavily wooded areas mess with your auditory perception. All those overlapping branches and echo-bouncing tree trunks. They create a natural low-frequency hum that your brain can't fully locate. The result? An eerie sense of presence, like someone breathing just behind your shoulder. Add that to the fact that dense forests limit visibility and amplify your fight or flight instincts. And suddenly, Grandma's warning about respecting the trees sounds less like superstition and more like surviving a psychological landmine. So yes, maybe there's no actual woodland spirit whispering your name, but your brain's prehistoric panic module sure thinks there is. Basically, nature gaslights you. Number 2. Sleep paralysis. Demons were totally a thing. Let's talk about that nightmare where you wake up but can't move. Your body is frozen, your eyes dart around the room, and, oh good, there's a shadowy figure sitting on your chest. Classic Tuesday, right? Centuries ago, cultures all over the world chalked this up to demonic visitations. The Italians had the pandafecci, the Japanese feared the kanashibari, and medieval Europeans just straight up called it a night hag. Because why sugarcoat it? Fast forward to now, and scientists tell us it's all just sleep paralysis, a glitch between REM sleep and waking consciousness. Your body's still in dream mode, but your brain wakes up early, like a kid trying to sneak cookies before dinner. The hallucinations? That's your brain trying to make sense of panic with no movement. It fills in the blanks with demons, obviously. What's wild is how similar these experiences are across time and geography. People from opposite ends of the planet describe the same creepy stuff. The pressure, the figure, the breath on your face. Either we're all culturally synced to invent the same monsters, or something's lurking in the overlap between consciousness and dreamland. Science says your brain's just spitting out nightmares with a lag, but the rest of your nervous system? It's screaming, this hag is real. Number 3. The evil eye was just social anxiety in jewel form. Back in the day, people thought that envy had actual powers. Like, if someone looked at your sheep with too much admiration, boom, your sheep dies, or your crops fail, or your baby sneezes weird. So obviously, the solution was to wear tiny glass eyeballs around your neck. Makes sense. But the concept of the evil eye wasn't just ancient drama. It was a full-on global panic button. Cultures from Greece to Iran to Latin America had versions of this belief. Why? Because humans are deeply weird about other people looking at them. Modern psychology calls this the spotlight effect, where you massively overestimate how much other people notice or judge you. Combine that with envy, status anxiety, and the ancient need to maintain tribe vibes. And boom, you get magical gaze-based terrorism. And here's the kicker. Studies show that people do unconsciously react to being stared at. Eye contact activates regions in your brain tied to threat detection and social regulation. So when Aunt Melina gave you that look at the wedding buffet table, maybe your ancestors were right to clutch their little blue charm and whisper something in Greek. It wasn't magic. It was millennia of finely tuned, emotional, spidey sense, wrapped in jewelry. Number 4. Bloodletting kinda worked. Sometimes. The golden days of medicine, when the cure for everything from headaches to heartbreak was draining blood out of your body. Got a fever? Let's slice a vein. Feeling moody? Leeches, baby. To modern minds, this sounds like a medieval horror show, and it kind of was. But plot twist, sometimes it actually helped, especially with things like high blood pressure, hemochromatosis, where your body hoards iron like a greedy little dragon, and some inflammation cases. Even today, we do controlled versions of bloodletting. It's called therapeutic phlebotomy. Same idea, fewer candles and less screaming. What's even creepier is how the old 4 humors theory, blood, phlegm, black bile, yellow bile, wasn't entirely nonsense. It was a janky metaphor for what we now understand as systemic balance. They were just working with 0 microscopes and a lot of trial and error trauma. So yeah, maybe they didn't know what the spleen actually did. But every once in a while, a little bloodbath did the trick. Basically, sometimes medieval doctors got lucky with their horror movie instincts. Number 5. Talking to the dead was a group activity. Your Victorian ancestors were obsessed with seances, like Tuesday night candlelit parlor rituals. Obsessed. People in corsets and sideburns sat around tables, called on spirits, and listened for knocks, table raps, or ghostly whispers. It was like creepy family game night, but with existential stakes. Today, we chalk that up to grief, social hysteria, or just being bored before TikTok. But let's not roll our eyes too hard. There's some strangely legit psychology going on here. Turns out, humans are wired to seek patterns, especially when emotionally vulnerable. When you lose someone, your brain frantically scans for any signs of connection. A familiar scent, a dream, a flickering candle. Mix that with a dark room and suggestible group dynamics. And poof, someone hears Aunt Margaret tapping out Morse code from the afterlife. Modern studies show we often hallucinate comfort under stress or grief. In fact, a large number of bereaved people report visiting with deceased loved ones in dreams or even full-on conversations, not because they're delusional, but because the brain is doing emotional triage. So yeah, maybe the table wasn't levitating, but the seance itself was giving people a sense of closure, agency, and group healing. Also, if a ghost knocks 3 times during charades, that's just good entertainment. Number 6. Dreams were prophecies. Kind of. You ever have a dream that felt too real? Like you woke up and thought, okay, that was either a message or my brain just threw spaghetti at the wall. Well, your ancestors didn't hesitate. They knew it was a message. Probably from the gods. Or a goat, depending on the century. From ancient Egypt to Mesopotamia to your weird uncle's couch in Florida, dreams were believed to be cosmic voicemails. People literally built temples to sleep in, incubation chambers. Look it up. Just to fish out prophetic dreams. The logic? The gods had things to say, and the REM sleep was their hotline. Now for the modern science twist. Recent research suggests dreams actually can predict things, but not in the psychic way. It's more like your brain playing nighttime chess, using past patterns to simulate future outcomes. That unsettling dream where you lose your wallet and fall off a bus. Probably your brain processing stress, money worries, and your habit of ignoring expiration dates. Even cooler, studies show dreams can consolidate memory, boost creativity, and highlight emotional blind spots. So while no, your dream about fighting zombie raccoons might not be divine prophecy, it is your brain doing behind-the-scenes diagnostics. Kind of like a weird software update that comes with interpretive dance. So maybe your ancestors weren't wrong. They were just dramatically metaphorical. Number 7. Mirrors can steal your soul. Let's get dramatic. For centuries, people believed mirrors were dangerous. Not just, I don't like my hair, dangerous. We're talking soul-sucking portals. Some covered them during thunderstorms. Others avoided looking into them at night. Because clearly, what better time for a reflective surface to eat your spirit? On the surface, this sounds bananas, but dig a little deeper, and the uncanny vibes make sense. First off, mirrors are creepily lifelike. They reflect reality, but slightly delayed and distorted, especially in dim light. You move, it moves. You lean in, it leans back. It's like staring at a ghost version of yourself that knows things. Add candlelight flicker, and boom, demonic selfie. Psychologists call this the strange face illusion. Stare into a mirror long enough, especially in low light, and your brain starts glitching. Your facial features distort, eyes vanish, expressions morph, and suddenly you're not sure if that's your face or something wearing your skin. So yeah, maybe Grandma wasn't being dramatic when she covered the mirror after Uncle Larry died. Maybe she just didn't want to accidentally trigger a full-on existential spiral. Basically, mirrors are creepy. Always have been. Your ancestors just had better excuses. Number 8. Curses could kill you. Seriously. Let's talk about dying, because someone said so. Ancient curses, the may your crops fail and your goats flee kind, weren't just melodramatic threats. People legit dropped dead after being cursed. Coincidence? Sure. But also, not entirely. Modern science has a name for this. Nocebo effect. The evil twin of the placebo effect. It's when believing something bad will happen actually causes it. We're talking real physical symptoms, triggered purely by expectation and fear. There are documented cases where someone believed they were cursed, and then experienced nausea, headaches, full-on organ shutdowns. In one infamous case, a man nearly died until doctors told him the cancer drug he overdosed on was a placebo. He recovered. His belief almost killed him. So when your ancestor said, "My neighbor hexed me and now my teeth are falling out," maybe that wasn't superstition. Maybe it was the biological equivalent of panic manifesting as doom. Your brain is powerful, sometimes too powerful. It can heal, it can harm, and apparently, it can be hexed into eating itself alive. Number 9. Spirits lived in the walls. You hear a creaking in the house, a whisper maybe. The air suddenly feels heavier. Obviously, it's ghosts. At least, that's what your ancestors thought. And honestly, they might have been onto something. Ancient cultures across the board believed that spirits lived in walls, doorways, and random architectural corners. Romans had lares, household deities, chilling near the pantry. Japanese folklore has tsukumogami, spirits that possess old tools and furniture. And medieval peasants just called it "don't anger the cupboard." Sounds kooky, right? But here's the science twist. Modern psychology and neuroscience back up something eerily similar. The sensation of presence. Studies of sleep paralysis, schizophrenia, or sensory deprivation show that the brain can conjure full-bodied presences. Invisible figures, shadow people, someone just out of sight. One study even used robot-controlled touches to trigger the sensation of a ghost standing behind a person. And guess what? It felt totally real. When your brain's spatial mapping system gets confused through isolation, trauma, or fatigue, it creates phantom people to make sense of the chaos. Add creaky old buildings, weird drafts, and low-frequency hums. And your ancestors weren't crazy. They were neurologically haunted. So next time the stairs creak, just wave politely. Your living room might have roommates. Number 10. The forest was watching. Picture this. You're alone in the woods. It's quiet. Too quiet. Suddenly, every twig snap feels personal. Every shadow has teeth. Congratulations. You've unlocked one of humanity's oldest fears. The feeling that the forest is alive. Your ancestors didn't shrug this off. They leaned in hard. Forests weren't just trees. They were enchanted realms, full of spirits, monsters, and judgmental fairies. Ancient Norse folk believed in Huldra, seductive forest beings. Slavs had Leshy, and Celtic druids just full-on worshipped trees like leafy deities. But here's the fun science. Your brain is wired to feel watched in nature. Evolutionary biologists think we evolved a hypersensitive threat detection system, especially in unfamiliar or dangerous terrain. That weird, prickly sensation at the back of your neck. It's your amygdala yelling. Something's out there, probably with claws. And because forests are full of unpredictable movement, flickering light, and ambiguous noise, your brain fills in the gaps, often with something watching you. It's like an overprotective parent that imagines monsters. So yeah, maybe the forest isn't watching, but your nervous system absolutely is. Number 11. Evil could ride the wind. Back in the day, a sudden illness wasn't you caught a virus. It was the wind brought demons into your nose. Yes, evil wind. It had a name, miasma. Ancient Greeks, Romans, and plague-era doctors believed bad smells and spooky air carried sin, sickness, and death. Laugh all you want, but here's the kicker. They weren't totally wrong. Miasma theory might have misidentified the source of disease, but it nailed the vector. People got sick in crowded, poorly ventilated, gross-smelling places because of bacteria, not bad vibes. But the foul air was a clue. Now fast forward to today. Hospitals obsess over airflow, HVAC systems, and filtration. COVID-19 made indoor air circulation a public health battlefield. Basically, we've come full circle. We still believe in haunted air. We just call it aerosol transmission. So yeah, your ancestors might have thought fart-smelling breezes were evil spirits. But also, they kinda saved lives by avoiding places that reeked of disease. Moral of the story, sometimes paranoia ages well. Number 12. The moon-controlled minds. Let's end on the most classic ancestral belief of all, that the full moon makes people lose their minds. Lunacy, werewolves, insomnia, blood rituals, you name it, the moon's been blamed for it. And while modern science likes to roll its eyes at this, research is surprisingly conflicted. Some studies suggest ER visits spike slightly during full moons. Sleep studies show altered melatonin levels and disrupted rest during that glowing celestial eyeball phase. And let's be real, it feels different. Ask any teacher, nurse, or retail worker. Full moons bring chaotic gremlin energy. Of course, correlation isn't causation. Maybe we just notice weird behavior more during a full moon because we expect to. But maybe, and this is the spooky part, the gravitational pull or light exposure actually tweaks our delicate meat computers in subtle ways. So when your ancestors howled at the moon, danced under it, or locked their doors and hid the cutlery, they might have been reacting to a very real primal shift, one that modern science still hasn't completely explained. Basically, the moon is up there judging us, and maybe, low-key, driving us all just a little bit feral. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them. Number 8. Curses could kill you. Seriously.